Hey guys, this is Butch, and I want to bring you greetings from Dallas Theological Seminary here in Dallas, Texas. Starting tomorrow, we're going to be working with a friend of ours, Dr. Larry Dinkins, and we're going to be teaching a class on orality. So I really covet your prayers this week as we post this video. I apologize, I know I'm kind of hit or missing with some of the videos as to what my normal schedule is, but we're going to do our best to keep up, but it is going to be a bit of a hectic week. So I invite you to join us as we continue today looking at blind Bartimaeus. So we've looked a little bit this week at the story of blind Bartimaeus, and in this story, Jesus and his disciples came into Jericho, and as Jesus and the disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, there was a beggar sitting by the side of the road, blind Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth passing by, he shouted, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And the crowd, they tried to shush him, they tried to quiet him, but he cried all the louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus stopped, and he said, "Call him to me." And those that were around him said, "Cheer up, get up, he's calling for you." And Bartimaeus flung off his cloak and stood up and made his way to Jesus. And when he got to Jesus, Jesus said, Tell me, what is it you want me to do for you?" And Bartimaeus said, "Rabboni, that I may see." And Jesus said, "Your faith has made you well." And immediately his sight was restored. And he followed Jesus on the way. And there's our story from God's Word. You know, I'm curious in this story, and please excuse me if I might seem like I'm rushing a little bit, but just about the time I started, there's a huge thunderstorm coming in, which it's been over 100 degrees here this week in Dallas, and so I'm sure they're excited about getting the rain, and maybe it'll cool things down a little bit, but I don't want to get caught in the first thunderstorm that they've had here for a while. But in this story, you know, we see that we talked earlier in the week about people shushing him. I wonder, you know, he said, "Son of David," and we talked about that being a messianic term. Do we see anything there possibly about the crowd, those that were around Bartimaeus that were quieting him? Could it be that they were just saying hush, or could it be that they were trying to keep him from saying what he was saying? What do you see there? Could Bartimaeus' recognition that Jesus was the Son of Man, that messianic title, is it possible that was a problem for some people? Might that tell us something about the crowd that was around, or at least part of the crowd that was around? Does it seem like all of them were as interested in Jesus as the rest of them? Because now this is a week before the crucifixion, right? So, just interesting. Well, then Jesus, when he hears what Bartimaeus says, he stops, and he says to those that were around, "Call him to me." Could Jesus have said anything else? Was it going to be convenient for Bartimaeus to make his way to Jesus? Because it was Jesus and his disciples, and who else? A large crowd. I'm curious, would it be easy for a blind man to make his way through a large crowd of people? And Jesus said, "Call him to me." Who else is going to be around Jesus? Yeah, pretty much everybody else, right? I mean, so could Jesus have done something different there? Could he have healed him from a distance? Hey, you're healed? Or could he have gone, simply walked over to where Bartimaeus was? Or could he have sent some people to get Bartimaeus? But he said, call him to me. He didn't say bring him to me. He said, call him to me. I wonder, might that teach us something about Jesus? I mean, might that have been embarrassing for Bartimaeus to be feeling his way through this crowd? Could that tell us anything about Jesus, that he was willing to put Bartimaeus in this somewhat embarrassing position? And I mean, with Bartimaeus, when he flung off his cloak and came to Jesus, I mean, what might we learn anything about his frame of mind? Yeah, it seems like he's pretty excited, right? I mean, a blind beggar like that, we're not told in the story, but I just don't think about him having a lot of possessions. But here, one of the key possessions he had, he flung off, not even knowing if he was going to be able to come back and get it. And we're not told in the story anything about what happened with this, with this cloak in the future. What do we learn about the crowd that was around him? I mean, do you think it might have been some of the same people that were shushing him earlier? Yeah, it does seem like they're a little bit fickle, right? And then he gets to Jesus. And Jesus asked one of the stranger questions to me in all the Bible. Yeah, I mean, because I want you to picture Bartimaeus making his way to Jesus through this crowd, right? So, do you see him bumping into people, or do you think it was obvious he was blind? And yet, when he gets to Jesus, Jesus asks the question, tell me, what is it you want me to do for you? Might that tell us anything about Jesus? It does seem like possibly Jesus at least wanted this confession to come out of his mouth, right? He wanted him to play a part in at least recognizing his need. Yeah, and then Jesus said, your faith. So something, we look at this declaration that Bartimaeus made, Son of David, have mercy on me, based on what Jesus recognized about that. What Jesus' words, your faith, does that tell us anything about this declaration that Bartimaeus was making earlier, Son of David? Was he just trying to get Jesus' attention? Or was there something else behind his words? Yeah, it does seem like Jesus saw his faith at work, doesn't it? And then you might notice in this story, I said, and he followed Jesus on the way. Some translations say on the road. But it's interesting to me that the way was what the early church was the early Christians were called. And that word can be translated both ways. And so I kind of left it in the way. I mean, who knows? Somebody brought up in a discussion once that Bartimaeus, one of the first things he may have seen in that first week of having sight was Jesus crucified. Well, in this story, we see that Jesus was willing to put Bartimaeus in a bit of an inconvenient place when he didn't really have to. Does God still occasionally put his children in inconvenient situations? I mean, what might that look like? I'm thinking for me, we flew here on Friday, and I just, I had a young man sit next to me on the plane, and I'm very much an introvert when it comes to, one-on-one kind of things, talking to strangers, but made a commitment to the Lord that when I'm on airplanes, I'm going to do my best to be faithful to witness, and I engaged in a conversation. I broke through that barrier, even though that is way outside of my comfort zone still after all these years of following the Lord. I think for me personally, I've been talking to some folks about what God has called me to do as far as stepping out of the pastorate, and traveling around teaching people how to tell stories. That was not convenient. It was actually terrifying. It was very scary. And yet, God has been faithful every step of the way. He's put me in some challenging positions, but He's been faithful in all those situations. I wonder, might there be something that God is calling you to that could be inconvenient or frightening? Could it be that this is a step of faith, that He's waiting to see your response? And, we don't have the promise that every time we obey God, we're going to receive our sight, right? But we do have the promise He's going to be with us. This story is in the Gospel of Mark. I believe it's chapter 10, and I'd love to hear some of your comments. If you've not subscribed to the channel, would personally appreciate it. And I'm going to try to get some more videos on this week. But until then, may the Spirit of Jesus washing the disciples' feet be on all of us. Keep on telling those Bible stories.